Hello everyone, today we are going to be disbudding without a disbudding box. So over the last couple years I've kind of perfected this method. I prefer it over a disbudding box. I kind of burrito wrap up the goats and the towel, and I find it's easier to kind of control everything. So here's some of the tools that I use. I like the Reinhardt X30, that's the model I use. It is not the pygmy size, it is a size up from that. I think it's a 1/2 inch. So the pygmy one was too small for me. That's what I originally started with, and it was leaving too many skurs. I have blood stop powder down there in case we do get a little blood. I have a glove because I disbud with my right hand and my left hand holds the kid's head and ears straight. So just in case I'd happen to nick myself with the disbudding iron, an all leather glove would be ideal, but I didn't have one around today, so any glove will at least give you some protection. We also clip the kids' heads before we disbud, so I use a 40 blade and I take it down as tight as I can because then there's less smoke and it doesn't smell as bad. And then I have a towel that I just put everything on to cushion the kid's head a little bit before we get going and while we're disbudding. So these are the tools that I use, and I will be bringing out about a week-old doe kid we're gonna do today. Here are all of my tools. We're gonna wrap the baby up in this. I already clipped the hair on her head, so we don't have to do that. Hopefully we don't need the blood powder, but it's there, and I am gonna put my glove on. So I have the piece of wood down there because I can check and see how hot my iron is. I wanna make sure it's really, really hot. So we're gonna do a little test run. That looks pretty good. So what we're gonna do with the kid, get this down, is we are going to get her all bundled up like a little burrito inside this blanket. And then I'm gonna put her between my legs, but I'm not gonna sit on her. I'm just actually gonna hold her between my legs without putting weight on her. So I like to do it this way because I feel like I have more control. Yep, sit down, baby. And I can try to get her little ears in there and everything. So I just take this towel, wrap her up nice and tight like this, and put her between my legs. Now, for her head and her ears, I try to keep those ears out of the way. So I'll try to hold her in place like this, so her body can't move and her head can move as little as possible. So when I'm disbudding, I take it all the way down to the skull. So I keep going very gently. I kind of rotate my wrist around, and then when I go way past the copper, that never works for me. So I'm going to show you what the copper ring looks like, and then I'm going to show you how much further I go with it. So on a doe kid, we just do just one circle for the bud. If you watch my wrist, you can kind of see real gently. I'm just kind of rotating it around. Okay, there's your copper ring. Now a lot of people will just leave it like that. I've had really bad luck and I get skurs when I do that. So I take it one step further, keep going until I see white. I want to see a whole white circle of the skull. Not quite there yet. Like I said, very gentle pressure, kind of rotating your wrist around in a circle. That looks like I'm all the way down. Now you're going to turn it around and use the end of this disbudding iron to kind of pop this middle part out. As you can see, we're down to skull. That's what it looks like when it's done on my goats to not get skurs. Now I'll show you the other side. Same deal. Center this over the horn. So there's kind of your copper ring situation going on. And we're going to go one step further and take out that whole center chunk of skin. There you go. So now there's a little tiny bit of blood right there. I would not be worried about that. I get more blood actually after a couple days when they start to get the scabs kind of banged around. But that's your final disbudding on a doe kid. Now sometimes the next day they do have swollen eyes. That's totally normal. After that they're perfectly fine. So here we have a second doe kid we're going to be doing. Same age, same letter. So just kind of put her down on here. Hold her in place. Wrap her up. Nice and snugly. Remember, kind of pull that head and ears down. I don't want to get it over ears. Okay. Some tend to wiggle a little more. You just hold them nice and tight between your legs. Like I said, I'm not putting any weight on her. All right, let's do the first one. Other side. If you're wondering on boy, I'm just keeping the smoke out of my eyes. All right, and now she is all done. So there's the final product. Now, this is a little buck kid I actually disbudded maybe a week or two, well, probably 2 weeks ago. So he's a lot bigger, obviously. Gonna use the same method here. But what happened with him, he's actually going as a wether, so I don't get as concerned about the horn buds because the wethers don't seem to have as aggressive of horn tissue growth as the intact bucks. But so I didn't do like a figure 8 type of a burn. Well, I did actually miss part of his horn, so we're gonna go back and I am going to do that part right now. So, because I don't want him to have a scar. Okay, so right over here, I missed like a whole chunk of his skirt. So we're gonna try to take care of that today. It's wiggly, so I'm thinking that we can get this done. So I was a little off-centered when I did his. Trying to get this middle chunk kind of, there we go. And I'm just going to try to seal it up a little bit. I'm going to cauterize it. All right, I think we're good. And this one, we are going to put a little blood stop powder, and it's not terrible, but we're just going to pour some on there. Keep that from dripping all over. Just hold that in place. All right, bud. There. And that one should be good to go now too.